On today's show, the Philadelphia 76ers are the NBA's hottest team, having won 8 games in a row, and Joel Embiid recently leapfrogging Nikola Jokic on the NBA's MVP ladder. Is Embiid the new favorite to win the NBA MVP award? All of that and more coming up right here at Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up and welcome to another edition of Locked On NBA, the biggest stories with the local experts. I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, also host of Locked On Rockets right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Now, today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Next game, how about Joel Embiid to have more than 28.5 points? What about Giannis Antetokounmpo to have more than 8.5 rebounds? How about Chris Paul to have less than 6.5 assists? Or what about Jason Tatum to have less than 3.5 three-pointers made? So what is Prize Picks? It's daily fantasy sports, but how does it work? Basically, you pick 2 to 6 players. If they score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 25 times back on your money on any entry that you submit. There's no competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. Prize Picks offers projections on any sport that you watch. That's NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, you name it, they've got you covered over at Prize Picks. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy. They're safe. They offer incredibly fast withdrawals, currently operational in over 30 states and Canada. So download the PrizePicks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code LOCKEDON. If you deposit $100, PrizePicks will give you $100. If you deposit $50, PrizePicks will give you $50. Don't forget to enter promo code LOCKEDON at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. Joining us now is the host of Locked On Sixers, Keith Pompey. You can follow wherever you listen to your podcasts and on YouTube. Just search Locked On Sixers. And Keith, the Sixers are on one hell of a roll. I mean, they've won 8 in a row, 9 out of their last 10, including a couple big wins on the road against the Bucks and the Cavaliers, potential playoff matchups down the line. Joel Embiid is averaging a ridiculous 36, 9, and 5, shooting 63% from the floor, 48% from 3 over this latest Sixers winning streak. How do you even begin to describe the production that we see on a night-to-night basis from Joel Embiid?
You know, well, the best way to describe it is unstoppable. Like one word, unstoppable production. It's weird. He can do whatever he wants. And I'm just give you a prime example. Like when they played on Saturday, it was one of those things in the first half, he just wanted to be a facilitator. But then in the third quarter, he just said, I want to score now. And it was just nothing they could do. They couldn't stop his turnaround. They couldn't stop his fadeaway. They couldn't stop him crashing, driving the lane and dunking on people. So the best way to describe his production right now is unstoppable.
He climbed to the number 1 spot on the NBA's MVP ladder as Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets have stumbled a little bit here in the month of March. At this point, Keith, what has to happen for Embiid to walk away with his first MVP award this season?
I mean, I think he has to, it's weird. I think that he just has to continue playing. And even if let's say if Joel, knock on wood, if Joel Embiid got hurt tomorrow, I still think he will win it because, they got 12 games left. I think that right now he's shown a body of work on national TV and against elite competition what he can do, so I think that if he doesn't win, it's going to be one of the biggest shockers. I honestly believe that because he's just been playing so well as of late. So to me is unless he just doesn't go out there and score 5 games in a row with fewer than 10 points, I think he's the MVP.
All right, Embiid's got it in the bag per Keith Pompey from Locked On Sixers. Now, shifting away from Embiid here for a moment, Tyrese Maxey, his role has changed all throughout the season for the Sixer team. He's been phenomenal in March, though. He's averaging 22 points a night on 57, 55, 100 shooting split, shooting 100% from the charity stripe in March so far. He spent the season starting, then he came off the bench for a little bit. Now he's back in the starting lineup. But what's the best role for Maxey on this Sixers team, Keith?
You know what? It's weird. I was one of those guys who believed his best role was coming off the bench. And I know he's a great player, great guy, state of Texas, everything, great dude, right? But the reason why I felt he was best coming off the bench was because when you look at, and you know James Harden, when you look at their pairing together defensively, they're going to give up a lot of points in the perimeter. But with DeAnthony Melton struggling the way that he was in the starting lineup, they were better off bringing Maxey back. But I kind of think that maybe like against elite competition, then you really in the playoffs you may have to think about it. But right now, the way he's playing, he looks good. I mean, the one thing I'll say about him offensively is when you have James Harden and Joel Embiid cooking and doing what they're doing, and Maxey's on the floor with them, he's going to light you up because no one could, because Joel always draws a double. James is James, so you're going to stick somebody on him, and that's just freeing things up for Maxey. So, right about now, the way that DeAnthony Melton is struggling as a starter, you got to start Maxey. But if Melton was playing better D, I think Maxey right now at this stage would have been better coming off the bench just because you needed to solidify the weakness that they had on that backcourt defensively.
Keith, I found this funny stat the other day. PJ Tucker has now 20 games this season where he has scored exactly 0 points. But the Sixers are 16-4 in those games. I mean, what does that just say about Tucker's way that he impacts the game? Even though he's not going to be the guy that's racking up points, right? But just all the little things that he brings to the table, the stuff that doesn't ever hit the box score.
Yeah, you know what? That's what it is, and because you know what? Here's the thing: like it says, about first of all, is a selfless player. When PJ Tucker, you don't even think about it, but he was like he was the Big 12 Player of the Year when he was at Texas, right? And now we know he was a second round draft pick, the whole nine. You know how that goes. But it just says his selflessness. I mean, there are certain times where you see guys getting the hockey assist. That's him. You also see where PJ he'll get the ball, he'll take 2 dribbles, and then he'll pass it to a guy. But while he's dribbling, passing it to the guy, he's actually stepping in the way so the guy's defender can't keep up. He does so many of those little things that he doesn't get credit for because there's no stat for that. But that's a winner. Like, he's a winning player. And you're right, people get caught up. Look at PJ Tucker. He's making $30-something million over 3 years, and he hasn't scored a point tonight. But you don't look at that. Typically, he's guarding the opposing team's best player. He's doing a lot of things. So, yeah, I mean, he's a winner, man. He's a bona fide winner.
Last thing for you here, Keith, before we let you go, but how much will this postseason for the Sixers kind of dictate the future for Doc Rivers as the head coach in Philly? I mean, what is the bar, I guess, at this point for a successful postseason run for Philadelphia?
I think they need, for Doc to keep his job, and he's done a hell of a job, a great job. But I honestly think for him to keep his job, they got to get out of the second round. And, right now, when we look at it, you look at it and you're saying how great they're playing. Like, it may even be, they may need more than that because they're the hottest team in the NBA right now. You have James Harden, who should have been an all-star, top 75. You got the MVP. They got presumptive MVP. So a lot of people are looking at this team like, hey, championship or bust, baby. So if they don't go far, I think Doc Rivers is going to be the fall guy, and because somebody has to go. So I think it's going to be him.
Will Joel Embiid's play earn him the NBA's MVP award? How will the Sixers' postseason success dictate the future of head coach Doc Rivers? Of course, you'll have us covered for all of that and more over at Locked On Sixers. Keith, I appreciate you talking my Locked On NBA with me.
Hey, man, thanks for having me.